Hi guys, Chris here and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk to you about the books I read from December 1st through December 7th. First up, I read The House of Hades by Rick Riordan and I gave this book 4 stars. This is the fourth book in the Heroes of Olympus series, so obviously I can't get into too much detail about what this book is about. I am still really enjoying our journey, and I like that the characters we're following were kind of separated a little bit in this book and had to figure out how to get back to each other, and them actually doing so wasn't necessarily guaranteed. I am quite curious to see how the journey ends for these characters and to see if they all make it through okay, as you can never be sure that they will. I'm still really enjoying the new characters we've met in this series, while again getting to see some favorites from the Percy Jackson series, and I am quite looking forward to seeing how this series wraps up. So next, I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently than I normally do in these videos because I read a giant chunk of a series, and normally I talk about books as I read them, and instead I'm going to talk about these next books together, and that is because I read Moonrise, Dawn, Starlight, Twilight, and Sunset by Aaron Hunter. These are books 2 through 6 in the second arc of 6 of the Warrior series, and I figured it made sense to talk about them together. I gave this one 4 stars. I gave Dawn 4.25 stars. I gave Starlight 4 stars. I gave Twilight 4.25 stars. And I gave Sunset 4.75 stars. And I was looking over there because that's where my notes are, so that I make sure I have all of the information I need for the books that I read this week. And it was just easier to read it off there than try to memorize exactly which books I gave which star rating to. So if you're new to my channel, Warriors is about forest cats who live in clans. There are 4 clans, and within each clan you take care of your clanmates, and they each have their own territories, and they don't always get along with the other clans, and when issues arise they have to work them out. In this arc of 6, we are following different characters than in the first arc of 6. Like, the first arc of 6 is all told from a former kitty pet who joins the clans and becomes Firepaw. And so the first arc of 6 is told from his point of view. In these books, we get several different points of view, and none of them are Firepaw's. And it is really hard to talk about what is going on in them and who we're following, as those are definitely spoilers for the first arc of 6. I will say that the characters we're following in this arc of 6 find out from StarClan that the clans are in terrible danger, and so it is on these cats to figure out a way to save their clans. I really enjoy being back in the world with these characters. I've read this arc of 6 before, and so this was a reread for me, and as you can see, I devoured it. I actually listened to the audiobooks for these, and I know at some point I'm not going to be able to listen to the audiobooks for everything because I'm not even sure there are audiobooks out for all of them, but I really do enjoy the audiobooks, and the way the voice actor for these audiobooks kind of brings each of the characters to life. Like, not just the characters that we're following, but like the characters they're interacting with, because each of the cats feels different. He does a great job at that, and I'm still really enjoying my reread of this series, and I think I enjoyed the first arc better. Like, I don't think I like this arc as much as the first arc, but I still really do enjoy it, and I am for sure looking forward to reading what happens in the next arc of 6, which is also a reread for me. I fell off somewhere in the middle of the 4th arc of 6, so I have to get through the 3rd arc first before I can finally get back to where I kind of left off. But this was a really enjoyable read, and I'm, again, really enjoying being back in the world with these characters and getting to see what adventures they're up to now, and look forward to getting to the point where I'm reading new adventures instead of rereading old ones. But these are such great books. I really, really love them, and it was really nice to reread them. Next, I read The Christmas Source by Tom Fletcher, and I gave this book 4.25 stars. In this book, we follow William, who asks Santa for a dinosaur for Christmas, and Santa must try to figure out how to fulfill William's Christmas wish. This is such a cute book. I really enjoyed this book. This book feels like, for me, a read that I might read every Christmas, just because it's very cute and fluffy and really gives me those Christmas vibes. That's not to say things are all fun and games, because William doesn't have the easiest of lives, and he's definitely in need of some Christmas joy, and it's just such a cute, fun read, and there's some really funny moments, and I just really, really enjoyed this book, and I'm so excited that there's a sequel, because, like I said, I love this book, and I really want to read the sequel. And I like that it says believing is the most powerful magic of all, because I definitely agree with that. And yeah, I really love this book, and if you've been thinking about picking it up, I definitely highly recommend it, because it was just such a fun, enjoyable Christmassy read. Next up, I read A Tale of Magic by Chris Colfer, and I gave this book 3.75 stars. This is the second book in A Tale of Magic series and continues to follow Bristol's adventures. I did not enjoy this one as much as the first one, or as much as I thought I was going to enjoy it, because I really do love Chris Colfer's kind of world that he's been building with these books, and so I was expecting to enjoy it a little bit more than I did. I think part of it was just a smidge on the slow side for me, but I did really enjoy some of the messages that came out of this book. Like, I have some nieces and nephews, and when they get to the proper age to read this, I will definitely be recommending this series to them, because I think there's definitely some really good lessons that are taught in this book, and one of them happens to be like the power of friendship, and I think that's very, very important, that friends are super important, and you like, I don't quite know how to explain it without getting into spoilers for the book, but basically that is a big one in here. The power friendship has. And so I really enjoyed getting to read about that, and yeah, there's just some really good lessons in here, and I don't really know how to talk about what those lessons are without completely spoiling the book. So I really did enjoy this book, and I'm quite looking forward to see what happens with Bristol and her friends from here. And I wish this wasn't a library book so that I could show you the cover, because, like, there's a design on the you can see a little bit of it here. Like, the whole cover, like the whole hardback is got a design on it, and his naked hardbacks are just so gorgeous, and I can't wait to get copies of my own. And it's just a fun, magical fantasy series, and I love being in this world that Chris Colfer has come up with. Next, I read A Boy Called Christmas, which I gave 3.25 stars, and The Girl Who Saved Christmas, which I gave 3.75 stars. These are the first two books in the Christmas series. In A Boy Called Christmas, we follow a boy called Nicholas, whose father goes on a quest with some other people to find proof that there are elves for the king. He leaves Nicholas with his mean old aunt and goes off. And when he doesn't come back when he said he would be, Nicholas decides that instead of staying with his aunt, who's made his life completely miserable since his dad left, he is going to go see if he can find his dad. I thought that the premise behind this book was quite interesting, and I was quite curious to see what had delayed his dad and what had happened to his dad, but there were times when it felt a bit slow for me. And then the ending of the book, I don't know, just felt like it kind of plodded along and didn't really do anything for a little bit and then just sort of wrapped up really quickly. So I think there were times I wished the plot had been a little bit quicker, and then at the end, like I said, it went by so quickly that I wish they had kind of given us a little bit more details. I enjoyed the sequel a lot more. I can tell you that this one follows a girl named Amelia whose life is just completely falling apart. Her dad's never been in the picture, and her mom is dying, and so she's sent to work in this warehouse under this guy called Mr. Creeper, who is really cruel and mean. At some point, her story crosses over with Nicholas from book one, so I can't really get into details about that as it would spoil what happens with Nicholas in book one. However, I liked Amelia a lot more and thought that this story had a much better pace than the first book. And I am quite looking forward to seeing what happens in the sequel, Father Christmas and Me. But yeah, I liked the second book more than I liked the first one, but they were both nice little Christmas reads and I enjoyed them. And lastly, I read Shiloh by Phyllis Reynolds Naylor, and I gave this book 3.5 stars. In this book, we follow Marty, who believes a man in his town named Judd Travers is abusing his dogs. One of his dogs gets loose, and Marty ends up finding him and really bonds with him and even names him Shiloh and really cares about what happens to this dog and kind of struggles with what to do when he believes Judd is mistreating his dogs, but doesn't necessarily have a way to prove it and is trying to figure out how best to go about protecting this dog he's formed such a bond with. This was one of my favorite books from childhood, and I didn't like it as much as I thought I was going to upon reread. I'm not quite sure whether that's because I remember it differently. Like, the end of the book I remember different, and I don't know whether it's because it's going to be like the end of one of the sequels and I'm just confusing the ending of one of those books with this book, or whether I know there was a movie made of this, so maybe I am thinking of the movie ending, which is different from the book ending. So I think that kind of bothered me because I was expecting more from the ending than what I got. And I remember this story being much more detailed and in depth, and it's like 140 pages, I think. And so I think it is one of those things that when I was younger, it felt like this really epic story, and adult me was able to fly through it, especially considering I already knew the story. So again, I don't think that's the fault of the book. I know when I was a kid, I loved this book. So I'm curious to read the sequels to see if that is where I got the ending mixed up, to see if I come across the ending that I thought was going to be in this book in one of those. All in all, though, it was really nice to slip back into an old favorite and get to revisit Marty and Shiloh. So these are some of the books I've read recently. If you've read any of these books, feel free to talk to me about them in the comments below. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me some cat emojis in honor of me reading 5 of the Warrior books. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye!